Good morning, Facebook Live. How are you? How was your weekend? What was going on? Who were you with? Were you by yourself? It's okay. I was. I enjoyed it. Even though I don't like the dog, I mean, he's here, I still hung with him. Yeah, he was actually pretty good. He was pretty good. He was pretty good. So I'm just going to say, are you stuck? Yes, we all could be stuck. I'm going to ask that question again and again and again because periodically we do get stuck. We get stuck on so many things, so many things. And we want to just make sure that when we get stuck, we can figure out how we're going to get unstuck. What is it that we have to do? Where do we have to go? What do we have to seek? Um, how far down do we go before we realize that we're stuck and we need to get out of where we're at and go someplace else? Good morning, Elizabeth. And so we want to really talk about how do we endure? That's today's subject, endure. And through life, we've endured a lot of things. We've endured bad relationships. We've endured maybe trouble on our job or not having a job. That's something that we endure. We may be enduring just, kids where the kids are just disruptive or won't do anything, lazy, um, won't clean up, won't do things that should be done. That would be sometimes we endure those kinds of things. Or if we're working with people that aren't very nice, we have trouble with them. Okay, it is what it is. That's the way they are. We have to come to grips with that. And what do we do with it? How do we deal with it? Um, and so today in our endurance, I found a poem, and today's poem, I found it on the internet, and of course it's by Bobby. I don't know who Bobby is. It just says by Bobby, but there's a place on the internet called Internet Poems, and it has a lot of good information on it. But these are just, they're not famous people, They're not Elizabeth Browning, they're not Emily Dickinson, they're not Robert Frost. They're not any of those people. They're just people like you and myself. We're just regular folks who maybe one day could probably have something in us, which what I would call a jewel that could be published and eventually known around the world as something that you wrote that people are taking some excitement in reading and having made it a part of their library. So, we certainly say that's good. But anyway, I like this poem, and it's called Endure. I'm going to put up my little glasses here. So it says, Endure. If I can endure for this moment, whatever is happening to me, no matter how heavy my heart or how dark the moment can be. If I can but keep on believing what I know in my heart to be true, then darkness will fade into morning, and with this dawn, a new day too. I liked it because, one, it was simple. Good morning, Jean. One, it was a simple poem, but the other thing about the poem is that it talks about sometimes darkness comes. We realize that things are going to come to us that we have absolutely no control over. We don't. It would be nice if we did, but we don't. So because we don't have any control, we have to end up realizing that we have to endure because we don't have the control. And as much as we'd like to say that we're in what I would call in a stance where whatever comes my way, I can handle it, you probably can. You probably can. But you have to realize that the endurance factor is going to kick in. You have to put it in front of you. You can't wait till it materializes 5, 6, 7 months away and the problem is still there. We endure, but how do we endure? What do we go through? What do we face? That's what we're talking about today. So when we start out looking at endure and we break it down, I'm by my front window today. Good morning, Kathleen. I'm by my front window today to get better reception. And for some reason, the dump truck just seems huge this morning. I don't know why. Sounds like he's so loud, but maybe you can't hear that, and that's good. But to endure says is to suffer something. Sometimes it's a painful or difficult thing that we suffer, but we do it patiently. That is endure. That's also endurance when it's over, long periods of time, But endurance talks about to learn and to learn to live with something. Now, many of us have learned to live with things. We've learned to live in bad relationships. We've learned to live with jobs that really don't suit us, but we've learned to live with it. Why? Because the bottom line is we're getting paid. We learn to live with, not going our full extent of maybe completing an education. We learn to live with it. We learn to live with children that may not be all that they're supposed to be and can be, but you have to wait. They're waiting. You're waiting on them to grow up to the level where they realize, mom, dad can't take care of me the rest of my life. I got to do something. Once again, that's a level of to endure. It says you're going. Good morning, Trey, Wally. Um, it's also talking about undergoing stuff, to be brave when you endure. Sometimes we bear things, we handle it. I know I had a grandmother. She said, "Well, handle it, girl." She would always tell me, tell me little things like that. And this also says you're going to face it. You're going to look it down. You're going to put up with it. You're going to weather it. All these things have to do with your what I would call your suffering through a problem, through a concern, through something that you can't outrun, you can't outthink. You have to wait. You have to wait. You have to endure it. And sometimes we're only talking time before it's gone. You know, and so we have to just stay there and be patient. Be patient along the way. So when we break the word down of endure, we first want to talk about the E. The E of endure is encounter. An encounter really talks about unexpectedly experiencing something that you must be faced with. That's to encounter something. Like I always hated what they called, those ghost movies or horror movies. Oh, no, I couldn't deal. I was never that kind of kid, because then I would be dreaming about them, and never that kind of adult. So you'll never see me watching that. But anyway, it says when you're really looking at something that you're encountering, it's unexpectedly an experience or something that you're faced with. Once again, there's that faced with thing. It says it's a come across, meaning you might have been walking, like I know I had a friend. We lived in New York. In order to get faster to, the other portion of town, you could walk through the graveyard. Well, she liked walking through the graveyard. Once again, Sandy didn't like walking through the graveyard. So I would run. I would be running through the graveyard, and she would always be so slow, and I'd be looking at her, come on here, girl. Well, okay. Okay, but that, to me, I was fearful of encountering anything. I didn't want to see a ghost. I didn't want. Okay, I'm young. I didn't realize that the dead is not going to walk anymore. They can't do anything to you. But did I know that? I'm a child. So anyway, I didn't want the surprise of it all. It says, but it is something that you may face, something that you come up against, something that you are confronted with, and something that you meet. So all those things are encounter, but the encounter is how you endure. Your endurance is how you encounter something, because you may say, go on away, get out of here, whatever, whatever. Whereas somebody else may absolutely be startled or just in fear, total fear. So then when we move down and we talk about the end of endure, it's your naivete. And I always like that word, to be naive. It says the quality or state of being naive. It's a natural or artless. It's natural or artless, meaning you put no thought in it. You thought nothing about it. It says it's a simple thing. It's you don't know it, so therefore it's simplicity. You don't know it. You're simple about it. And it says or it could be the lack of experience or wisdom or judgment. So meaning you could be naive or have naivete only because you've never been exposed to it. You have no experience with it. So therefore it becomes naivete to you. And it says naivete is also it's naturalist. It's the simplicity of something. It's the immaturity of something, and it's the ignorance of something. You don't know about it, then you're ignorant about it. So therefore, everything looks up, because you know nothing about it until you finally see it, and then you look straight at it, and then all of a sudden you might be startled or taken aback. But that's what experience does. If you've never seen anything before, you have no reference to it. But once you see it and you realize the importance of it, or you realize how it might have changed you or got to you or something, then you have more to say about it, and then more to know what to do with it. So then your endurance may be not so long suffering or not so naive, because you're kind of teaching yourself more about what you didn't know. The D in endure is for deal. And a lot of times we talk about deal, it says to give shares of something, to deal out, or to distribute. And in this deal, it really talks about the issuance of something. You can take it on, or the dispense of something, to administer, to allocate, to apportion, to assign, to deliver, and to convey and transmit. So when you're enduring something, you have to realize you're either going to deal with it or you're not going to deal with it. Or you might be halfway in and halfway out, meaning, you deal with it when you have to. And sometimes that's what happens with when people are in, relationships or workships or something that just says, I'm only halfway in. I go work hard enough to get my pay, but I don't want to be dealing much with the people, who may be responsible for my pay. So then you deal with what you have to deal with. The U of endure is for unmask. And I like that word because a lot of times we don't even think of mask. We think of it now because everyone has to mask up, put on face mask every day. But to unmask, obviously, is to expose. It says to expose the true character or hidden truth about something, how a person may look, how a person may act, how a person may just be, and so it really talks about it's the reveal of somebody, the unveiling of someone, the look, the appearance, the bare, the disclose, the divulge, the spill, the tell, the exposure, the uncover, and the true nature. So all those things speak to what unmasking is. So once you've endured something, it's been unmasked to you. So therefore, once it comes again, or it even may come in a different form, but you recognize it because you've endured it. You understand what the struggle has been, or what the pre-exposure versus current exposure has been. And so therefore, if you had no reference before, but you have some now, you're more apt to give what I would say, a better reaction to what's taken place, whatever that is. But it really talks about the fact that when you've endured something, it's been unmasked. You can't, it's not hidden anymore. It came to you that it was something that you had to deal with. The next word with the R is rationale. And rationale is a set of reasons or logistical basis for a course of action or a particular belief. And to me, when you're dealing with things that you have to endure, you have to have a certain rationale about it. You have to have a certain understanding as to which way to go. And maybe the first twist and turn, you do it wrong because you don't know. You don't know how to handle what you've been given to handle. So you endure, but as you get more mature with your endurance, then you have more rationale as to how to deal with it because you've experienced it. You've gone through it. It says in it, really, when you're looking at rationale, you're looking at your reasoning of being rational, your philosophy, because after you've endured something, you will have your own philosophy about something. You'll also know about, how you're going to think about it, how, what your hypothesis is or your thesis, or your argument. Because a lot of times you have to prepare for something hitting you again, and you have to be able to say, this is the way I would approach it. This is the way I would deal with it. Why? Because you've dealt with it before. It says you have your own sense of understanding of what it was, what it did to you, and what it will do to you going forward. It says that you also have your own way of how it motivates you to deal with it, to get rid of it. That's your rationale, read it, and it gives you your own motive, because this time I can handle a situation quicker than I could the first time. First time I knew nothing about it. I had some naivete. It was an encountering that I wasn't sure that I could even handle, but I did. I handled it. And then the last letter in endure is an E, and that's your experience. Everybody knows that with experience comes your ability to make better decisions, because you know what to do. You've had a situation or situations, because sometimes things do repeat on us. Then you know how to handle them. So it says practical contact is what experience is, and your observation of facts or of events. So this way, it lets you know that certain facts tell you things that the way you should go forward. And then the other one is the certain events themselves that you've experienced tell you how you need to go forward. So if you've endured something, then your experience going forward, if you presented that situation again, you have a better way of understanding how rational you must be. The unveiling that was presented before in terms of what you endured, you understand how you need to deal with it, positively, middle of the road, or negatively. You look at the naivete of you wouldn't have as much naivete if you've experienced something. That's why when I'm trying to do these, I try to do it where you can be both. You could have some experience on one hand and some totally naiveness on the other part. You know nothing about it. But that's how life is. Sometimes the first time we ever see things, they shock us because we never saw them before. So in this instance, if you've endured something and you really paid attention to what it was you experienced, then you should be able to address it in every way. So when we look at endure is just, it's life. Enduring anything is our life, and it says that young people may not learn as quickly. And I mean like the young people. I'm talking the 20s. They said up to 26. That's when the brain has a tendency to mature more. But if you're younger than that, if you're in that span, you may not learn as quickly as, say, somebody that's 30s, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, because they've had time enough to experience more and be more objective about what it is that they have endured, and they can speak on their own endurance. So when I get down to my questions are simple. The first question is, and I hope you have a pen and paper. I hope you can certainly refer this and share this with people. And I appreciate all who come into this space with me in the mornings. I do it from 9 to probably 9:30, 9:45 every morning, Central Daylight Time, until the time changes. But the first question on endurance is, what have you endured or are you enduring right now? What have you endured or what are you currently enduring? Certainly I'm quite sure the pandemic has brought on some endurance that no one thought that they could handle and are having trouble handling. Because let's face it, not many people like being, separated from others. They want, company. Everybody does, except a few. I do know a few people, their preference is that you stay over there, I stay over here. And that's just the way it is. Question number 2, what has your encounters, good morning, Khalil, has the encounters along your journey been like? What have they been like? in terms of you just realizing that things have come at you and you've endured them. So what were the encounters? What were they? Was it that somebody died? Was it that you didn't get a promotion? Was it that your children were sick? You were sick? What is it? What did you endure? What encounters was a part of that endurance? Okay. Question number 3. Do you experience some naivete every now and then? Are you, just totally, I never heard that before, don't know anything about it? And a lot of times we will not be honest. Even if we never heard a word before, we've never been in a certain situation, we act like we have. That's a lot of times has more to do with what it is that's in us to try to be as knowledgeable and as perfect as possible. But we can't be. Can't be. So, I admit that I don't know something. I say, I don't know that. I never heard that. But that gives us experience. So when we hear it again, we do know it. The fourth one is, what are you dealing with currently? What are you dealing with? And that's an endurance. This is similar to the first question. So once again, I'm trying to get down to what are you dealing with in terms of your endurance. Your endurance is just, a lot of times we've just done some things that nobody would even believe we've done. Sometimes it's not open for discussion, but we knew what happened. We knew it took place. The fifth question is, how rational are you about your endurance? How rational are you? Sometimes I'm pretty good. Sometimes not. And the last question is, what has your experience been regarding what you've endured? I'm the baby of 10, and there's only 3 siblings, three of us that remain. So therefore 7 siblings have gone on to glory. So for me, I've endured deaths. My mother's, my father's, and all my siblings, my grandmother. So, I just have to say, I know what it is of what my endurance has been. And it doesn't hurt anymore, but it's still a remembrance of what the endurance level was. And I guess as I get older, my realization is eventually I will be among them. I will be a part of that group that will move on and let new history in my family come forward. And so that's how you understand that life just is a cycle. I'm in the cycle of an older life, where other people are in the cycle of midlife and some people in their young lives. But it doesn't say that it won't change, because the young, the middle, and the older will all go, at whatever time that has been assigned. So I just try to be present and understand that my level of experience certainly says don't do everything. So when I go out, yes, I do have unmasked. I absolutely do wear a mask, and in some places gloves. If I see they don't have them, I pull out my own. I just carry them with me. So we do have to protect ourselves. We do have to be in a position of we're all enduring something right now that we've never endured before, and that would be this pandemic. It's not in our lifetimes have we ever known anything like this. So we have to be certainly aware of this encounter, because it is a new encounter, a new journey in our lives, a new experience. And when we first started it, we were much more naive than we are now. Now we realize that what the scientists, health professionals are saying, that it would be wise, when we go out, to cover up. Good morning, Carla. And it would be wise that we stay a certain distance from people if we have to be out socially. And then, just realizing that we must, remember hygiene and washing our hands and keeping our hands away from our faces. And I know that's a habit of mine because I'm always touching my left eye. For some reason, my left eye is always having a problem. But I do wash my hands a lot. In fact, I was looking at them this morning. I wash them so much that even the lotions I have used on them aren't as good as they were when I first started, because I guess it didn't have to deal with such roughness. But anyway, I'm still in the business of being mindful about what I'm enduring, what my journey has been, what the encounters I've certainly experienced. My naivete, I'm not that as naive as I used to be about what I need to do to try to stay safe. Good morning, T. And then we talk about my rationale. My rationale is, of course, to make sure that I keep myself safe. And by wearing masks and stuff, I'm also trying to protect others the best I can. And my experience level is pretty good at this. I think all of us have probably gotten pretty good at knowing what we need to do to remain safe. So I want you to endure today. Write down what your endurance has been. Don't do anything, but I have my book, which I write in, and I actually have a couple of books because keep a book in every room downstairs. So therefore, and I keep one by my bed. So wherever I'm inspired, I may write something down and keep it for bringing to you if it's something of that nature, or if it's something that just to give myself a note for a book that I'm writing. But anyway, take care of yourselves. Understand the importance of having a plan for enduring whatever comes your way. Certainly encounters will come. You have to know how to handle them. Don't be naive anymore about what it is that we can do about trying to safeguard ourselves. And even sometimes safeguarding may not say that you're still not, prone to becoming vulnerable to whatever is out there. Then certainly look at, unmasking the things that are a part of what endurance entails, being rational about it, and certainly understanding that experience can certainly conquer all that needs to be dealt with in terms of our endurance. So the more experienced we are, the better off we are in terms of handling whatever comes down. But anyway, I want you to have a wonderful day. Tell somebody you love them. Tell somebody you miss them. Do something that certainly sets the tone that people know that love is out there. I love every one of you that come into this little space with me every day, and I'm glad that the opportunity is here for me to just do this freely and be inspired. I'm inspired by it. Tomorrow we'll have something else to talk about, and thank you. I thank you, and I thank you. Have a great, great day. Bye-bye.